You have to have the moral courage to be able to say to a room full of different officers or agencies or whoever it may be, this is how we stay within the boundaries of the law. This is how we ensure that what the British Army does throughout the world is legal and appropriate. I studied law at university. I really enjoyed public speaking, I really enjoyed the debate, I really enjoyed analysing a problem. Becoming a barrister seemed a really good way to approach that. I gained the impression that Gray's Inn was a friendly and just fun inn, which really looked after both its students and its barristers. And that's really what attracted me to go to Gray's. So I went through the pupillage applications process, did a number of interviews and was grilled in various sets of chambers by various pretty prestigious panels. I was lucky enough to get a pupillage with a good set of chambers in Bristol, St John's Chambers, and was lucky enough to be really well looked after in pupillage by a couple of very inspirational pupil supervisors. A lot of people don't necessarily know that the Army has its own lawyers. And indeed that the Navy and the RAF have their own lawyers. A lot of my colleagues have joined with absolutely no contact with the armed forces before they decided to apply. The Army Legal Service is about 100 people, and we are uniformed Army officers who provide legal advice to the Army across a very broad range of what it does. We have to really be agile generalists. We have to be able to at any point advise the Army across the range of operations and the range of things that the Army does. And it's important that whatever is thrown at us, we can look at a problem, analyse it carefully, and deliver that sort of timely and accurate legal advice to whichever commander it is dealing with that issue. ALS officers would deal with a complete range of different things across their careers. You could find yourself in a hostile environment, in a foreign country, in an operations room, as the only lawyer in the room providing advice to the entire operation. As a prosecutor, you could find yourself in court, prosecuting a serious case with the right training, and ultimately you can be the difference between that case being properly presented to the board, to the jury, or things not working out. And on the advisory space, anything from advising on one of the really big issues that are affecting the military at the moment. For example, recently my colleagues advised on women in ground close combat roles. Now the Army is completely open to women across the roles. And then another example perhaps is our contribution to Operation Tempora, which is the military support to the armed police in the event that they're required for a large-scale incident. No day is exactly the same. You never know quite what's going to come through the door. I particularly enjoyed being a prosecutor. I worked with a QC on a very, very difficult and very complicated manslaughter case, and to be able to work with him and to see the right outcome reached, it was really important to me as well. We have to be able to deal with international law, with human rights law, with public law, with employment law, with criminal law, and with specialist military law. I think for a lawyer who doesn't want to necessarily become stovepiped into a very, very narrow area of law, it's been quite good to be able to really broaden out. The other day, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to go to the Royal Navy's helicopter dunk tank, which is designed to help you train to escape from a sinking helicopter. And as the water sort of rises up above your head and the helicopter gently turns over and the lights are off, you think this is pretty much something that most lawyers wouldn't do in their day-to-day job. We have the opportunity to work in many places around the world, which for a barrister who's trained for it in England and Wales isn't that usual. You find yourself loading onto the back of a Chinook. The ramp is down, you're in a line of soldiers, you've got your bag full of law books, you're ready to go, and you find yourself sort of jumping on the back of that helicopter and lifting off to go visit the client. And we visit the client by jumping in the back of a helicopter and going to see them that way. I was asked at pretty short notice to advise the Household Division on the legal aspects of the state opening of Parliament, and you find yourself at short notice briefing a very senior general on exactly how it should work and what should happen if something were to go wrong. So it is a little daunting when all the eyes swing onto you. I'd recommend Grays to any student barrister who's considering which inn to join. The opportunities that Grays has given to me are brilliant. Going on advocacy weekends where you learn the really sort of finer, more intricate bits of how to present from everyone from top silks right up to someone like Lady Hale. I think everyone who joins wants to make a difference. We're contributing towards something really important. We're helping the UK assist the world with peace and security. We're helping the UK be a force for good. I think everything we do is meaningful, it makes a difference to people's lives. We are there across the board to sort of enable the Army to address the very broad range of threats to the UK that the Army does address.